Hey, I'm gonna show you the top 7 books that every startup founder has to read right now. Hey, my name is Russell Brunson, and this is the very first in a video series for our new Entrepreneur Funnel Hacker Book Club. Every once in a while, I'm gonna be bringing you guys out brand new videos going over some of my favorite books. And today I'm gonna go over the top 7 books for startup founders. Now, those who don't know me, I am a founder of a startup called ClickFunnels. We've grown dramatically over the last 7 years, from 0 to over $100 million in sales. And people always ask me, what books did you read along the way to help you to grow this company? And so that's what we're talking about today, is the top 7 books. For you, if you are a startup founder, you're trying to launch a new software company, or a new supplement, or a new product, whatever it is, these are the books I'd recommend you read first. You probably heard that most startups fail, and the reason why is not because the entrepreneurs aren't passionate, it's because they don't have the insight or the knowledge to actually execute on what they're trying to do. And that's why these books are so important, because it takes your passion, gives you some knowledge, and gives you the tools to actually execute on your vision. Now, obviously, you can learn stuff in school, and you can learn a ton of stuff, like real-world application out there doing the thing, but books are special. Books are like a shortcut. Tony Robbins has talked about it's like taking a decade of an author's life and compressing it down into a day. And so you get this ability to really shortcut your success by finding a book, learning from someone who's already done it, shortcutting your success and compressing decades into days. All right, now the very first book you should read is my book, Traffic Secrets. Just kidding, you totally should read that. But today's first book is called Remote. Now, Remote is written by the founders of Basecamp. And the reason why this book is so important, because right now we're in an economy, we're in an age where everybody has to work remote. Now, we read this book here right when we launched ClickFunnels, and we were about to get everybody to move to Boise and get a big, huge office. Then this book came out, we read it, and we decided, you know what? Let's not work in a huge office. Let's have people work from home. And right now, ClickFunnels has over 400 employees working from home. And when COVID hit and everyone had to break up things and everyone had to go remote, it didn't slow us down even a little bit, because we already have these principles. So for today, if you're trying to build a company, this is how you start. You don't start by taking on money and buying a building. You start by going remote. It's cheaper, it's faster, and it's an easier way to get your startup off the ground. And this is the blueprint to show you how to do that. What's crazy is when we read this, we didn't realize how important this thing was gonna be 7 years later when everything hit the fan. What's crazy is this book came out in 2013, before Zoom was cool, before Zoom was even a company. And for crying out loud, they gave you the book. It's called Remote, Office Not Required. And after you read this, you'll be like, man, actually having an office is gonna hurt our productivity and we'll get less done. So that's why this is so timely and so important for you guys, because it literally is the blueprint to show you how to work remote with amazing teams and still get stuff done. That's how Basecamp grew as big as they have. That's how ClickFunnels has grown as well. And one of my favorite quotes from the book Remote is, the ability to be alone with your thoughts is, in fact, one of the key advantages of working remotely. When you work on your own, far away from the buzzing swarm at headquarters, you can settle into your own productive zone. You can actually get work done. The same work you couldn't get done at work. Yes. So if you're thinking about a startup and you want to work remote because you kind of legally have to right now, get this book. It's the first one to read. It'll show you exactly how to do it. It'll save you a ton of money and a ton of time. All right, book number 2 is called Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. I've got it here on my phone because I listened to the audiobook of this one because it's such a great story. Now, most people don't think about Nike as a startup, but there was a time when it was. And Phil Knight, when he wrote this book, each of the chapters is titled the year, like 1973, 1974, 1975, and so on and so forth. Some of my favorite things about this book is you had a chance to see an empire built from the ground up, step by step by step. You watched him as he took these crazy risks, where he's literally flying to China and Tokyo, all these places to try to get shoes back before the internet, before things were happening, where all the correspondence happened through mail, and you're wiring, money and not being able to hear back from them for 3 or 4 weeks till they, sent you a letter back, and just all the craziness he had to go through to create a company back before entrepreneurship was cool, before it was easy. And it was super inspiring to hear his story. It gave me faith and hope in what's possible for me when you see what was possible for him. On top of that, there were some really cool lessons here that I learned personally about my family. One of Phil Knight's sons actually hated Nike so bad that he refused to wear Nike shoes. And in the book, his son actually ends up passing away, and he said that one of his biggest regrets in life is that he never learned how to figure out the puzzle of his son. For me, at the time of me reading this, I was really struggling, and still am, if I'm completely honest, with one of my teenagers. And it really gave me motivation to step back and say, look, I can build a company that does billions of dollars in sales, but if his biggest regret was figuring out the puzzle of his son, then what's my regret going to be? And it made me really want to spend more time trying to figure out my kids and help serve them in a way that helps them, because you have no idea how long they're going to be here for. And so that was one of my biggest takeaways and lessons from the book Shoe Dog. When I first read the book, I didn't know what the title Shoe Dog meant, and a shoe dog is somebody who's obsessed with shoes. They're obsessed with how they work, how they feel, how they look, like all those type of things. And so when Phil Knight was creating this, like he became obsessed. He worked with people who were obsessed. His coach, his track coach, was obsessed. He literally like cut the shoes apart and re-sewed them together and all sorts of crazy things. He was the one who like went and poured the rubber into the waffle iron that created the first soles for the Nike Airs, and like just crazy things like that. And so I'm always looking, just like Phil Knight was looking for people obsessed with shoes. You know, in my world, I'm looking for people who are obsessed with funnels. We could call my funnel dogs or something. But for your business, like who are the people that are obsessed with the products and the services that you sell? Find those people and get proximity to them. One of my favorite quotes from this book is when Phil Knight said, "I tell men and women in their mid-20s not to settle for a job or a profession or even a career. Seek a calling. Even if you don't know what that means, seek it. If you're following your calling, the fatigue will be easier to bear, the disappointments will be the fuel, and the highs will be like nothing you've ever felt." So if you want to think big for your startup and see a vision of what the future could look like, get Shoe Dog. All right, book number 3 is called Lost and Founder by Rand Fishkin. This honestly is one of my favorite books of all time. Rand was the founder of Moz.com. He tells a story in here about everything he went through when he was creating Moz, and he took on money and what that looked like, and how having a venture-backed company, how it spiraled him into depression and a whole bunch of problems and things like that. Now this book is near and dear to my heart because when we launched ClickFunnels, we're in it about 1.5 years, 2 years, and we were thinking about taking on money. Everyone kept telling us, go raise money, talk to the VCs, talk to the private equity companies, and we were going to. And Rand actually came to Boise and gave a presentation to a small group of about 100 entrepreneurs. And I had a chance to hear him tell the story about how they raised funds, how they grew their company. And then afterwards, I had a chance to pull him aside and ask him how it was. And he told me the truth. He told me how hard it was, how, you know, what he actually made as an owner of this company, the depression he went through, all sorts of things. Because he told me that in person, we decided not to take on money, and we haven't ever since then. And later this book came out, we actually told the entire story of how it worked, how he grew the company, and why he would never have done it again. And so for anyone who's in that phase where you're trying to bootstrap something, you're trying to grow, and you're like, should I take on money, should I not take on money? This book right here will show you the perspective of what happens if you do decide to take on that money, what that looks like, how to prepare yourself. And I think more importantly, on the flip side, hopefully like me, it'll convince you should try to focus on bootstrapping your company because it's a better way to control the company and keep it your own. Anyway, this book was just so powerful for me, and I hope you have a chance to read it as well. One of my favorite quotes from this book is short and sweet. It's that great founders don't do what they love, they enable a vision. Book number 4 is Behind the Clouds by Mark Benioff. Now, who is Mark Benioff? He is the founder of a little company you may have heard of called Salesforce. They built this company into like a $20 billion a year company. It is insane. And Behind the Clouds is actually the playbook that Mark created showing how they launched Salesforce. Now, I always look at Salesforce as this huge software company, but when they started, they were the first people ever to do software as a service platform. They were disrupting an entire industry. This book is literally written like a playbook, like as if it's your football playbook, where it's like, play number 1, we did this, play number 2, play number 3. And some of these plays are crazy. It wasn't like they went and bought ads on Facebook. It was like they found their competitors' events, and they went and found all the taxis in the town, and they hired the taxi drivers to wear Salesforce clothes and had out signs and all sorts of crazy things, and they picketed outside their competitors' events and all sorts of crazy things they did to get the message out about their product and their service initially. And I remember reading this, I felt like Mark Benioff was cut from the same cloth as me. This playbook for how they grew Salesforce was exciting for me, and especially look at it now as someone who's built one of the biggest companies in the world, to look back at what they did when they first started, when they were grassrootsing it. And this book will give you tons and tons of plays that you can use to execute and to grow your startup as well. One of my favorite quotes from Behind the Cloud, Mark Benioff said, "Seize the opportunity in front of you. Imagine, invent, disrupt, do good. I know that you must be passionate, unreasonable, and a little bit crazy to follow your own ideas and to do things differently. But it's worth it. Life grows relative to one's investment in it." All right, book number 5, I'm a little bit nervous to share this with you, called Crossing the Chasm. Now, this is the actual book. If you read it, it's really deep. I couldn't understand about 1/3 of the words in the book. But the good news is there's a Cliff Note version that I also got on my phone called Crossing the Chasm Book Summary, and this one is amazing. Now, crossing the chasm, as you start growing your company, there's going to be different phases you take somebody through, right? Initially, it's going to be your early adopters that are going to come and find out about your product, and then the innovators are going to come in, and then there's this chasm. Like, how do you get from the people who are excited about your product, your service, to get it into the hands of everybody in the world? And that chasm is one of the hardest things to actually step through and get to on the other side. And so what I want to recommend this book is, because as you're building your company, I want you to understand the first focus is getting the innovators and the early adopters and getting those people into your product or service. And then you have to transition your marketing, your product, your service to be able to cross the chasm. And if you can do that, That's when your business goes from hundreds of millions of dollars in sales to billions of dollars in sales. And so understanding that when you're building your startup will help you to know where you're going and the vision, the mission of your company. And so I recommend getting Crossing the Chasm. Get the Cliff Note version because it's so much easier to understand, but this book is amazing as well. One of the reasons why this book has been so useful for ClickFunnels right now is that we've gone through those first 2 phases of growth, and over the last 12 months or so, the big question we're asking is how do we cross the chasm? We got the early innovators, we got the early adopters, we got those people. How do we cross the chasm? How do we have to shift our marketing? How do we shift our business? How do we shift the actual software and the product? And so it's come down to us redesigning our entire business now that we're trying to make that leap. Had we have read this book prior to that, we probably would have made some different decisions earlier on that would have made this transition easier. So if you're just getting started, it's important because it can help you see those things. And if you've already grown, now you're at a point where you're trying to cross the chasm, this book will give you the blueprint and the game plan to do that. One of my favorite quotes from here is, to get an early market started requires an entrepreneurial company with a breakthrough technology product that enables a new and compelling application. A technology enthusiast who can evaluate and appreciate the superiority of a product over current alternatives, and a well-heeled visionary who can foresee an order of magnitude improvement from implementing the new application. Now, real quick, guys, that was actually one of the simpler quotes, okay? That was a mouthful, right? That's how most of the book is, but if you think about it, you read it a few times, it is actually pretty amazing. Book number 6, and this is probably an unlikely one for most of you guys who are starting businesses. Book number 6 is Extreme Ownership. Now, this one is so important on so many levels. For you or for me as the leader, as the entrepreneur, if you don't understand this principle and you blame your team or blame other people, you are going to struggle. You have to learn how to take extreme ownership of everything that's happening inside your company. On top of that, you need to teach your management team, your leaders, your managers this exact same philosophy. In fact, I believe in this so much, not only did I buy this book for myself, I bought it for my entire company. We took it, we shipped it to everyone and said, everyone needs to read this book. This is part of your job. It's 1 hour a day until you finish it. You've got to be reading this book because we need everybody at every single level inside of our company taking extreme ownership on everything that they do. If they do that, you will be amazed at how your company will blossom and it'll flourish. But it starts with you as the entrepreneur leading this charge, taking extreme ownership. The problems are your fault. The good things are your fault. Like everything is your fault. When you understand that and you believe it, you realize if there's a problem, it's not that my team sucks or my person, it's always you. You are the problem. Take extreme ownership. When you do that, it gives you the ability to actually change things and shift things and make them better. This book was one of my favorite books, not just from a business standpoint, but personal development as well. And it's one that's going to help you to grow your company, to grow yourself, and to change the world even faster. When we shipped this out to everybody, we had 300 employees at the time. We spent $8,000 getting this message out to our team. That's how valuable and how important it was to us and how valuable and important it should be to you as well. One of my favorite quotes from this book is, the test is not a complex one. When the alarm goes off, do you get out of bed or do you lie there in comfort and fall back asleep? If you have the discipline to get out of bed, then you win. You pass the test. If you're mentally weak for that moment and you let the weakness keep you in bed, then you fail. Though it seems small, these weaknesses translate to more significant decisions. But if you exercise discipline, that too translates to more substantial elements of your life. And the last, book number 7 in this series, is a book called Blue Ocean Strategy. One of the problems that most businesses have is that they get into a market and they become a me too. Okay, and in this book it talks about there's a blue ocean, which means that you're out there fishing, there's nobody else around, right? And then there's a red ocean. The red ocean means there's a whole bunch of people all fighting over the same fish, right? And the waters are bloody because there's so many people all competing here. Now, most businesses go and they find, where's the red ocean? Where's everybody competing? Where can I jump in? And that's how they do it. And the problem is now you're fighting amongst the scraps with everybody else. The power when you create a new company is finding a blue ocean or creating a blue ocean where you're the only one fishing in that ocean. When we launched ClickFunnels, we were the only funnel building software there was on the planet. That's what made it so simple for us to go out and get market share quickly. How do we come and launch as an autoresponder company or a payments company or a CRM or marketing automation? There were tons of people in all those spaces, but nobody was in the sales funnel market. And so we were the very first. We walked in this blue ocean and it gave us the ability for years to get in there, to grow our company before anybody else came and tried to fish out of our waters. That's the power of really understanding this blue ocean strategy. It makes growing your company so much simpler in the very beginning and gives you more ability to grow and scale it over time as well. Now, one of my favorite quotes from Blue Ocean Strategy is, Blue Ocean Shift is a systematic process to move your organization from cutthroat markets with bloody competition, what we think of as red oceans full of sharks, to wide open blue oceans or new markets devoid of competition in a way that brings your people along. So there you go. There are my top 7 books for startup founders. How many of you guys would like these books? And I can throw in my book as well, Traffic Secrets. How many of you guys like these 8 books actually shipped to your house? Not counting my phone, I'll get the physical version. I'm not going to send you to my phone. But if you would like these, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do a contest. In the description down below, there's a link where you can enter the contest. It's going to show you exactly what to do, and one lucky winner is going to get all of these books. You got to comment, you got to like, you got to subscribe, do all the things, but then click on the description and join the contest, and you may be the lucky person who's going to get a copy of all these books. And in fact, on top of that, I will actually take my book and I'll sign it for you. So there you go. Join the contest down below. The link's in the description. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, we're going to keep doing these entrepreneurial book clubs in the future. Make sure you click on the button down below to subscribe and turn on notifications. That way, when the next one comes out, you have a chance to find out my next set of books that I recommend, and you may be my lucky winner on that one as well. So if you want to get this, click on the link down in the description below and make sure you turn on your notifications. Thanks so much, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.